the more you read the word, the more you want to walk like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I can't walk like Jesus and be talking about people. I
Right.
can't walk with Jesus and be drinking every day. I can't walk with Jesus and be popping pills. I can't walk with Jesus and be having sex. I'm gonna walk like Jesus and be having sex. So it's like, once you realize that, and then you once you understand that you have a higher calling in your life other than just that normal worldly stuff,
Yeah.
then for me personally, right now, I like to do the complete opposite of what people are doing. Like if I see a lot of people doing this, I'm like over there doing that. I done had a I had a drinking problem, I had a drug use problem, weed problem, sex problem, a gambling problem, been homeless, suicidal, um, you name it. Like watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, that if what he pretty much explained it to me is as far as like, if you know what is wrong and you see it a mile away, you just know not to go that way. But if you're not alert and you're just not in the word and you're just going about your business, like not keeping your eyes on the word, on the Lord, then
Mm-hmm.
you're the devil's gonna grab your ankle. Then when he has your ankle, he's gonna grab your kneecap. Then when he has your kneecap, he's gonna grab your heart and he's gonna pull you back. And you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be able. I'm not gonna say you're not gonna be able to get away from it, but it's gonna be hard to get away from that grasp. That's why
Right.
it's always be. You always have to be mindful. You can't believe in God if you don't believe in Jesus, because
Ooh.
Jesus is God. Jesus is the Son of God. In my head, like there's a lot of attractive females out there that I still double tap some of them, but it's like I'm not gonna lie. I'm being honest. That's my flesh. But at the same time, it's like I know outside of Instagram, I'm more so concerned about where their heart is compared to what their body looks like.
Right. Okay.
Because like everybody, your body's gonna get old and wrinkled and stuff like that. But your heart is, if your heart's not in the right place, then I'm just not gonna be attracted to you.
Yeah.
So what I look at like now, I guess you could say in the last like 3-4 months, what I look at now is more so concerned of, would I be able to be in a relationship with this person if there was no such thing as sex? Like
Mm.
if there was no like if I can't see myself with that person for the rest of my life, if there was no such thing as sex, then I don't need to be engaged in
That's
those
a
kind of
great
conversations
perspective.
with that person.
Now that is a real Christian. No, seriously. His name is Christian, and he's keeping it real. That's what we need to see more of in this world, and particularly within the Christian faith. People, especially young people, that is impressive to see someone being so transparent about who they are, their experiences, and what God has done for them in their life and continues to do each and every day. Babes, that is how we keep the faith. That is how we spread the good news gospel of Jesus Christ, by talking about him, glorifying him, giving him all the glory, honor, and praise, and showing people what he has done, what he is doing in and through each of our lives, each of us who believe and trust and rely on Jesus Christ as our Lord and our Savior. Yay! Hey babes, you are now tuned in to Babes in Christ TV with me, your friendly host who stays doing the most, aka your friendly neighborhood hope dealer, because ideal is the hope. On this channel, we seek to edify, entertain, encourage, and educate all of you, our blessed and highly favored viewers, by using the wonderful, incomparable, infallible Word of God as found in the Holy Bible. So if this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to click the logo on the lower left of this episode so that you can subscribe to us here on YouTube. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Be sure to click the notification bell so that you can all be one of the first to see what God is doing right here, abundantly, miraculously, through Babes in Christ TV. If you or someone you know is between the ages of 16 to 35 years old, definitely be encouraged. Feel free to reach out to us, contact us right here on Babes in Christ TV via Instagram at Babes Media Ministry, at Babes in Christ, or you can even directly reach out to me at the Neighborhood Hope Dealer XO and DM us, letting us know that you too would like to share your journey with Jesus, what God has been doing in and through your life too. And you can also email us on Gmail at babesinChrist 2016@gmail.com. So recently we sat down, well, we zoomed in with Christian Jones, my homeboy, a man of God who has been a Christian all his life. Literally, his name is Christian, and he's subscribed to the Christian faith all of his life. But as they say, life happens. And the devil, the enemy, tried to throw so many things in his path to derail him throughout his journey thus far. But God is faithful, and God has kept him through drugs, through premarital sex, through alcohol addiction, through suicide, through homelessness. Christian's story is just so inspirational, and you are about to see. And you can't ever, truly can never judge a book by its cover. This is a young man who is into mathematics and accounting and stock investments. His story is for sure impressive. So without further ado, here is our interview discussion with the one and only Christian Jones.
So, say your name, spell your name for the camera just so I get it correct.
My name is Christian, like the religion, Christian G. Jones.
G Jones, what's the G for? Gangster?
Yeah, nah, it stands
Okay. So
for,
were you
don't tell
named,
nobody that.
were you named after the religion, Christian? Is that where it comes from?
Cause my mom and my dad was like really into church, like, and they raised us in church.
Uh-huh.
So they was coming up with names, and they both agreed on Christian.
Which church was it? Is it the church you currently attend, or was it a different church?
No, it's just the same church. I've been going to the same church my whole life.
Oh, wow. All right. So, give us a little background on how that was being raised in the church, and then how you could veer off into worldly things. How does that happen?
I mean, being raised in the church when you're a kid, like, well, me, I'm speaking for myself. It was more so I was forced to go to church, so I wasn't really like into it. I didn't realize how beneficial it was while I was that age until I got older. It's kind of like, you know how you miss high school and you're like, I wish I could go back to high school, and certain things you would do differently if you was in high school. It's kind of like the same thing. So it's like I used to act like I was asleep Sunday mornings so that way I could. My mom be like, will try to like make me stay home maybe, or like But then like as far as I got older, things got a lot better because I started to understand it a lot better. Like I was, and at the time, like I was probably like one of the only boys in the church. So it's like every church play, I played Jesus or Joseph, and
Oh,
so it's like it was that, and then I was in the church choir, the youth choir when I was a kid, and I mean I didn't really like that, and I got out of that pretty fast. But
wait, why
what do you
didn't you
call
like
it?
it? Why didn't you like it?
Because I can't sing. It was just
Okay.
more so. It was more so. I don't know. It was. Yeah, I just can't sing unless I'm playing around. Unless I'm playing around or I'm in the shower or something like that. I really don't. I don't sing like that at
Uh-huh.
all.
So being in the church plays, playing Jesus, playing Joseph, did that teach you about who these individuals were, like the character of these individuals, or you just felt like you were just playing a person in another role, just like Donald Duck or something like that?
In a way, it was like that because like it showed me like the basics, like the stuff as a kid. Like that's what we needed to know about the birth of Christ and stuff like that. But I didn't really know honestly, I didn't really know who Jesus was until I would say like 2 years ago when I really like started digging deep. Like we all hear about him and stuff like that. He died on the cross and stuff like that. But once you like read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it's a whole. You actually get to understand how he actually was as a man in the flesh.
So did you find Sunday school beneficial at all, like in hindsight, or was it really kind of pointless? But you weren't learning anything in Sunday school.
No, I mean, Miss Von Zeller was my first Sunday school teacher, and then it was Miss Regina, and then Miss Debbie, and I didn't really um know too much until I got into high school, which Miss Debbie was my Sunday school teacher, and the way she taught or teaches, I don't know if she still does Sunday school, but she really like you could tell she actually cared about us learning about Jesus and like that, and she made it real easy for us to be able to ask questions or speak to her, and she gave some good answers to us.
So I'm a person who was not. Is your screen frozen? Okay, there it goes, because it was frozen on my end. But
Oh,
you good? You see it?
yeah.
So I'm a person that was not raised in the church. I just started going to the church. I just became a member when I was 19. And so I saw from the outside looking in that it seems like a lot of the youth that were raised in the church, they veer away from it. They don't stay in it. They go away and go dabble in worldly things. And that was like very eye-opening to me, because I would think that someone who was raised in the church would want to stay in it because you're that much closer to Jesus. So as a person who
Nah,
was raised in the church, why is it that they go off into the world rather than staying close to God?
because you don't know the other side of railroad tracks. Like you're always taught, like it's kind of like when you're growing up and your parents tell you not to do something, and you naturally like want to do it because they're telling you not to do it. So it's like you always you know what life is like on this side of railroad tracks, but you always hear about. It's kind of like how it's kind of like how what's his name, Mufasa was you see Mufasa and Simba on the thing, and he's like, what's that over there? He's like, everything the light touches is our kingdom. But then like the shadows, you see Simba, he always wanted to he wanted to explore what he couldn't necessarily go to, like the shadow part. So growing up Christian, you're like, when your friends, like I grew up around a whole bunch of different types of peoples. But like when your friends are going to parties or they're going to the club, or your friends are smoking weed and drinking and stuff like that, you kind of want to fit in, but it's like you know better. But it's like it makes you feel like in a way at the time it made me feel like I was an adult, just because I was making my own decisions. I wasn't listening to my mom and or my dad and stuff like that. So it's more so that's why I veered off because and another reason why I didn't really necessarily have a I mean I could talk to Pastor or Mr. Dennis, but I never really had my dad was in and out of my life, so I barely had somebody that I can go speak to on some type of spiritual guidance.
You said your
Guidance
dad what?
was in and out my life
Okay.
growing up. So there's barely anybody I can speak to go get some spiritual guidance. So like when you stressed out and you talking to your homeboy or something about something, and he's just like, hey, you want to smoke? You here, smoke this. This will make you feel a lot better. Or come drink. Let's go to the liquor store. You'll feel a lot better. And those are my go-tos. Those are my go-tos at the time. But now, I mean, I learned my lesson. To tell you that much. That's why I strayed away. Me personally, I can't speak for everybody else.
So what is the lesson that you're saying you learned?
A lesson that I learned. That the grass ain't always greener on the other side. That no matter what, you get caught between a rock and a hard place because it's like what you know is right, but then it's like it don't necessarily what you know is right, but then what feels right. You get caught in between the two, and once you realize that what you know is right is more spiritual, and what you think is right, but it only feels right for a certain amount of time. That's actually your flesh. Once you distinguish the two, then you can learn from your mistakes a lot better than you could just living either in your flesh or in the spiritual realm. But if you know the difference, then it makes things a lot easier.
So now let me go back to being raised in the church. Pastor is your godfather, correct?
Yeah.
So what role?
Miss Rose was actually there when I was born. She was holding my mom's hand. Yeah.
She was at the hospital.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So what role did that have for you with like the leaders of the church directly influencing your life? How did that help you? Did you find that, a burden? What was that like?
It was awkward because like I became two different people. Like I would be the person in front of pastor, but then I'd be the person around my friends instead of being one solid person either wherever I go to. I didn't become one solid person until I became like, I would say like maybe like 26, 27. And at that point it was kind of bad because it's like people hear stuff of what you're doing in the streets and stuff like that, but then when you see them, they don't necessarily bring it up to you unless you like bring it to their attention. So it's more so of a awkward like hug and a smile. It was more so how can I explain it? It kind of made me feel like I was doing wrong, but I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong in the midst of me doing it until I got to church.
Okay.
Because of all the, so once I would talk to, like I wouldn't say barely, but I talk to pastor now way more than I spoke to him when I was running the streets, only for the simple fact that now I don't have anything to hide. Like I'm not running from him. I'm not like, oh, I can't see pastor. He's coming over to the house. No, I'm gonna go downstairs. It's not like that at all. Like I can't wait to see him. Or I can't like, I'm like, when he calls me, I'm like happy to speak to him about certain situations and stuff. But like growing up in that atmosphere, it was kind of like it's kind of like I had to be fake. But then in the midst of, to be honest with you, it was in the midst of me trying to figure out who I was as a person. You're going through adolescence, so you don't necessarily know who you are. So it's like you don't know if you're gonna stray this way, you don't know if you're gonna stray that way. And they did their best to keep me on the straight and narrow. Like they didn't do nothing wrong, they didn't neglect me or like didn't answer my phone calls or anything like that at all. It was all my decisions that I kind of just went my own way.
Quick question: how does pastor even become your godfather? Like, how did that even happen?
I guess my mom and my dad, because pastor married my mom and my dad, and in his basement actually. And I guess when I was born, my mom just asked if they.
So your mom and dad like were pastor's friends prior to all of this, or they?
Yeah.
Oh, they went to like the same church together or something?
No, they just was. I don't know how they met, but they known each other for years, and pretty much they just when pastor started the church in his basement, my mom and my dad was the first people that was in the audience. So it was like, but they knew each other before that. So I don't know. I'm about to ask my mom that when I get off the phone with you, how that happened. But yeah, they known each other for a little while.
Yeah. So for youth coming up in the church right now that are experiencing the same things you went through as a youth that was raised in the church, what kind of advice do you give them for them like trying to live a double life? They don't want to show that secular side of themselves while they're at church. You know, they want people to see them one way as, you know, doing everything correct when in reality they're not. What's the advice you give for them?
That's kind of a tricky question, only for the simple fact that they're different. That's such a broad question for the simple fact that there are different people who are dealing with different situations. So I can't sit there and say, like, if somebody is like if a female is she goes to church and she's like the neighborhood, excuse my language, but whore, I can't tell her the same advice that I would tell the guy who wants to be a drug dealer. Because it's like they feel like that has to do with their personality. Like a female has to do with like their personality or insecurities and stuff like that. But with a guy is more so them trying to be macho and trying to impress their friends. But the main broad answer that I can give is to stay grounded and figure out who you are. The faster you figure out the reason why God put you on this earth, everything else is just going to be, you're going to have tunnel vision towards that main thing, and everything else is just going to be pretty much a distraction in your life. Like, me personally, I try not to like tell people what to do, or like if I give somebody advice, I'm not telling them that they're wrong and I'm right. It's more so of having that kind of relationship with somebody, so that way they can feel comfortable speaking to you, and you can somewhat, like, I wouldn't say hold their hand, but like navigate them through getting back on track for certain things.
Okay.
Because some people, like, if you try to, like, for me, example, I'm gonna give myself an example. Like, when people try to tell me, or used to try to tell me what to do, I would I barely listen. Like, I would sit there and listen to them, but in the back of my head, I'm rolling my eyes or telling
Is
myself
that
I can't wait to get out.
is that because you didn't feel like you needed help, or is it because you didn't care about the help, you wanted to do what you were gonna do?
It was, to be honest with you, the thing about trying to get back over on this side of railroad tracks is the devil always makes you feel like it is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
He will always sit there and throw a whole bunch of stuff at you to make you feel like you're not good enough to be with them. It makes you feel like you're better off being where you're at, and it seems like it's like, I don't know if you watch Batman or whatever, but he was in like this big hole. It feels, and he had to climb out. It feels like this big ditch that you're in. Every time you try to like climb out, you like the rock breaks off the side of the cliff, and you fall down 2 more stories. So
Mm.
it's more so, as far as, I forgot where I was going with this. As far as trying to navigate them, and you got to realize that kids or teenagers and young adults too, that we're all hard headed. Like, we don't want to. Not everybody's gonna listen to what you have to say. To be honest with you, it really depends. Like, for like this, you can tell me to do something, and I will listen to it. But then if pastor tells me to do something, it affects me a little bit differently than for you to tell me, or my mom to tell me, my sister to tell me.
Because
Even though,
because we're females, or just because we're not
no, I'm
past?
talking those. I mean, those just in general. It's
Okay.
just the fact. It's just the fact of the matter of, even though you guys are all right, the main thing that a kid or a teenager, it all. I'm not saying I don't respect you or anything like that, but kids take better advice from people that they feel like they can relate to and they
Mm-hmm.
respect.
Right.
So if like, I can't, like, as far as a female wanting to say, like, there's a woman who was prostituting herself and wanted to get out of the streets, I can't give her no advice, because I can't, for her to talk to me, she probably won't even feel comfortable talking to me because I'm a guy. So
Mm.
I would tell her, I'll probably give her your phone number or something like that to help her out. But it's like, for like a kid, like, as far as a kid wanting to like sell drugs, or a kid wanting to drink every week, every day, or every weekend or something like that, and party all the time, I can tell them, like, you're not missing out on anything. Like, you
Yeah.
need to just leave it alone and get no, like, this Bible needs to be your bottle.
Okay.
Like, get drunk in the word.
So I wanna harp on that a little bit, because you said, the partying, the drinking, the drug, that's a lifestyle that people really aren't missing anything if they don't dabble in. Why do you think it's
Yeah.
so alluring then? Why do so many people get caught in that rabbit hole? There's so many
So,
young people. They always want to go down that route. Why do you think?
social media and rappers
Ah, rap. See, because I was thinking rap.
to
And
nip it in the butt.
uh-huh.
Because that's that. To be honest with you, um, I was on, me personally, I was on this program called Drug Court Probation. It's kind of like parole and probation mixed together, and it's like real strict. I was on it for 5 years straight. Now, when I was on, when I was on it, that's when, like, a lot of people around me started doing Molly. A lot of people started popping e-pills. But the whole time, I couldn't do anything because I was on this program. So when I got off of the program, my initial thing was, I want to try and see what everybody's talking about. I want to see what Future is talking about when he's talking about freaking
Ah,
ha- hanging out with so and so because the song is popping. I want to feel like how he feels when he made the song, type of thing. So that's what I did. So I didn't really like, and then you get, once you're in it, you just get caught in this weird twilight zone type of thing, where it's just like, that's your life, I guess you could say, and it's just like, you don't want to break away from it. And the only thing that, to be honest with you, what made me break away from it was the fact of, I know me personally, I know the potential that I had. Anybody, honestly, that wants to get off of it, I knew the potential that I had when I was on drug court and I was just sober and focused. And I told myself, if I can do that with the law watching me, why can't I do that on my own with God watching me?
Right. Ooh, that's
So
deep.
that's when I flipped the script and started walking this way. I mean,
Mm.
I've been trying to. For, like, the hard thing is you try and try and try and try, and then you don't see the results immediately. It kind of deters you. But then once you try long enough and you start seeing little results, that's what makes you want to try it even. That's when you get on fire and you just like, well, if this happened within a month, then I can imagine what's going to happen in like 6 months from now. Watch it, and you kind of like want to prove it to yourself of
Mm-hmm.
how good God is being to you just by you being obedient.
Mm-hmm. Now, I just want to talk about lifestyle for a little bit. So you're a person who was born and raised in the suburbs, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I didn't know you, I would just from looking on the outside looking in, I would think, oh, he's probably from some type of inner city. You know, you live a lifestyle that, you know, you see people from New York or Camden or Chicago, you know, like that type of lifestyle. Like I would think, oh, he is a gangster or something like that. You know what I mean? Not a church guy. And so something I always know, because I'm from the suburbs. My parents are from Brooklyn. They specifically moved out of Brooklyn so that they could raise their children in, you know, an environment that's not Brooklyn. But for some reason, because of rap music and the popularity of that image, it's also now kind of infiltrated, I would say, the suburbs. And so you have a lot of kids that are from the suburbs where it's usually, you know, polo shirts and khakis when you think of the suburbs. Now they want to be like tough and hard and like they have some kind of point to prove. And so I
Yeah.
want to ask you, what what causes that mentality for kids who are in the suburbs wanting to comport themselves and kind of pretend as if they're from a hood when they're not? What do you think?
Um, Rap music and social media. And also, like, when you sell drugs, you it comes with like a popularity, I guess you could say. Like, when you know you got the best stuff in the world, and not in the world, but the best stuff around, like, all like, and you're making a lot of money, like, all bunch of women come around, and then like you can pretty much do whatever you want to do at any given time. So then when guys see this happening, it might be one of their girlfriends or sisters or their cousins that they feel some type of way about, and then they get jealous, and then they try to, like, I wouldn't say press you or anything like that, because I never been really pressed, but you just get this weird animosity with other people. And they might be selling drugs too, and they might have something that's garbage, and you have it better. And the people that go to him normally are now coming to you, and they want to test you. And so I guess as far as suburbs acting gangster, it's more so of them trying to. It really comes. Everything really boils down to females. They're trying to impress a woman or a group of women, or do stuff for the gram or stuff like that, because as weird as it sounds, there's a lot of girls that like guys who walk around with guns and got felonies and tattoos and piercings and stuff like that, or stuff like tattoos on their face. Like, certain girls like that kind of stuff. So it's like that they're trying to, I guess, impress those women instead of impressing Jesus or God,
Uh-huh.
which is backwards.
So do you feel like that is an issue for the greater picture, the greater representation of Black people at large? Because now the bigger picture, greater society has this perception, this misperception of what it means to be Black, because hip hop is so pervasive and it's taken over at such an astronomical rate that people, when they think of Black, they think of, you know, ghetto, gangster, you know, criminal, when that's not the case. Because we have people who are Black people from the suburbs, you know, trying to model themselves after inner city criminal people. when that's just not the case. So how do we fix that? How do you think is a solution for that misperception of Black people, especially Black men? Because that plays a part in the Black Lives Matter movement and the police brutality. It's all because of a misperception, a misconception of who Black people are overall.
I mean, honestly, I honestly think that probably is not going to change anytime soon. Only for the simple fact that no matter what a black man does, we will always be stereotyped. Because even like, just for instance, you just sat here and said that if you didn't know me, you would think that I was from the Bronx or Brooklyn or from the hood or whatever you guys want to say because of the lifestyle that I live. And even though like I could be a bona fide like right on the money Christian for the next 10 years, but I still have all these tattoos on my body. So say like if I go to go play golf, there's gonna be a white person that's in their 60s that plays golf and they're gonna look at me from afar and be like, "Oh, this guy with all these tattoos on his body, he must be a felon. He might be he's right, but it does like it doesn't it's not going to ever change people's perspective on certain things. Like as a whole, yeah, like it'd be nice for everybody to like what Rodney King said. Can we all just get along? Like it'd be nice for that to happen. And maybe I think that if we eliminate the word nigga out of our vocabulary, that's like that would be a start to like a big movement. But
Personally, have you eliminated it? Well, was it ever in your vocabulary? And have you eliminated it from your vocabulary?
it's still there. When I talk to my homeboy, I mean it's weird because it's just like a natural. It's like I wouldn't say natural, but it's like a word that like you don't realize that it's a bad word until you're around certain people and you say it, or the wrong person says it to you. Like, cause I got white friends that I grew up with in Lakers, and like there was one time where we was all at a party and one of my homeboys had wound up saying that, but he didn't. I could tell that he didn't mean it like calling me one. He was just like he was like that's my nigga. So I had to like pull him to the side like yo don't ever don't ever say that word to me again. Like I don't like if you were singing, it'd be different if you was like singing a song. We was in a club and you said that word, but it's like for you to say it, like we all just drunk and smoking and stuff like that. No, I don't want to hear that. But I really honestly I don't think that as a whole that it's going to take a lot because with all the racism that's going on, we kind of have to admit that there's some type of racism towards white people, which is warranted because of the simple fact that of how we've been treated all these years. So like we feel like they're racist against us, so we have this wall built up, I guess you can say. So when they like try to like do something good, we automatically feel like, oh, what you trying to do? Like you trying to be too nice? You must be up to something. Like I don't trust you like that, and then you automatically like get defensive. But it's like that's what I'm saying. And I really don't think our generation is gonna be able to do it. I think like maybe like my daughter's grandkids by that
Oh,
time like that by that time like it'll be because think about it your mom's and your dad's grandmother and grandfather like they lived in a time where they had to drink water out of a different water fountain than white people, and you see how their grandchild or their great grandchild, which is you can go to a school with white people
yeah,
now, like
yeah.
so as far as now I don't like as far as now, we've come a long way, but I don't really think that things are going to change. We've definitely sparked a movement that's way bigger than I wouldn't say way bigger than anything before because they've been doing this for a while. But we sparked a movement that would help future generations later on down the line, and eventually, I would say like in the next say like 60 years, things will come full circle.
So you're a truck driver. You go across the country, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so being a Black man doing this, have you felt any? What's that experience been like, especially when it comes to the police?
I mean, when it comes to police, I really haven't been pulled over or anything like that. But I'll tell you one thing: there's certain places as a black man, you just don't want, you feel awkward driving through like Kentucky, like West Virginia. Definitely, there's a one time where I was in West Virginia, and I'm like, when you're driving a truck, you be forgetting what state and what place you're in sometimes, because you just be driving. You got to use the bathroom. You just stop. You don't think like, oh, I'm in West Virginia, and these people are like KKK members and stuff like that. One time I was in my truck, and I parked my truck and I walked across the street to go get some soda at the 7-Eleven. And there was like, no lie, there was like 4 pickup trucks with Confederate flags that pulled up, and they stood up there. Like, I walked in, and I seen them when I walked in, and when I walked out, they all jump out their trucks and start lighting cigarettes and just looking at me, and they spit on the ground. And I'm in my head, I'm like, oh man, I'm not in the mood. I just want to get to my truck, and I just walked to my truck, and they was just, the whole way there, they was just like, I'm looking back, and they still staring at me and stuff like that, and keep on spitting on the ground. Like, stuff like that has happened to me. But
So how did
like,
you feel in that moment? Were you intimidated? Were you nervous? Were you scared? What was the emotion? Did you call on God and like, Lord, the angels, your heavenly angels? What?
I honestly, I like, my flesh, part of me was wishing that they would do something, because I would had a whole entire. This was like right around, like probably like 2 months after the whole George Floyd thing had happened. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and I was like hoping that they would do something, not lynch me or anything crazy like that, but just do something racist, because I was about to record the whole entire thing and go viral, and like I was just wishing. But
Yeah.
then it was just they, like, in a way, it was like, because you got to realize, there's, all right, one thing I have noticed when as much as I travel, there's people in America that have not been out of the county that they actually live in.
Right.
There's people that
Yeah.
have not been out of, been
Right.
past, because they just, their job is like 5 minutes down the road. Their daycare is 2 blocks away from their house. Walmart is 10 minutes down the road. They don't
Right.
gotta go nowhere. So it's like, those kind of people, that there's also those kind of people in Arkansas or West Virginia. There's those kind of people in Minnesota, like in all these different places. So there's, to those people, to them, they're in a whole little clique, and that's normal to them.
Right.
But the only thing that they see is stuff that's on the news or their social media, and their social media usually is a bunch of their friends that agree and do the same exact thing. So they don't see the perspective from, as far as a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't care, because that's just the way they've been born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
What
just like,
state are you in right now?
I'm in northern New Jersey right now.
Oh, okay. So, all right. You got your truck locked?
Yeah. Oh, my mom texts me every night and say, "I love you. I make sure you lock your doors."
Yeah.
'Cause my dad was a truck driver, and he had a little incident where somebody had opened up his door when he was sleeping, and they
Oh.
was drunk. They was drunk and got into the wrong truck, and he almost got into a fight with this dude. So my mom always told me, whenever I go to sleep, like, make sure your doors is locked, and don't talk to strangers. And I love you. That's what she
Oh,
says
don't
every night.
talk to strangers. That one's a
I
classic.
really don't. I
Yeah.
really don't, because it's it's weird, because like I said, you just don't know what you're running into when you're out here. So for the most part, all I do is I just drive. The only people I really talk to is the people that got to sign my papers and the people at the gas station. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when I get on the phone, but as far as like in person, I'm not gonna walk through Walmart and say, "Hey, what's a good restaurant to eat out here?" Like, I don't do that. I used to when I first got on the road, but I don't do that no more.
Well, what changed it?
Just the fact that you can just Google stuff, and certain people's attitudes, where it's like like in Arkansas, there's I want to say a bunch, because only the places that I've been to. So I had an incident in Arkansas where I seen some racist stuff. What was that? West Virginia. Also in Colorado one time.
When you said those guys spit on the ground, like they were spitting in front of you, like trying to spit on you, or just in front of
Not
their.
trying to spit. Like, they was like, imagine like you like maybe like 10 feet away from me, but like you spit towards me, like you're trying to disrespect me, like, not like, because if they want to spit on me, I was at one point I was close enough for them to spit on me. So they was basically like just saying, you're nothing to us, and they basically like spitting at me.
Mm-hmm. So how does that make you feel as a Black man, as a Christian? How does that impact your psyche at all?
I mean, honestly, I prayed for him, but it made me feel,
Ooh.
it made me feel like taking the high road sometimes makes you feel a lot better than stooping down to their level. Like, even though my flesh wanted them to approach me on something weird, because I got poles and weird stuff like that in my truck just in case a situation like that happened. But like like, even though my flesh wanted that to happen, like my spirit was just like, they don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just let it ride. And plus, like I was just getting something to drink. Like, when I get my truck, I'm back in my on the road mind state. So like, sometimes I'll be forgetting that even happened until I talk to people like you, or somebody asks me, what was the most racist thing that you experienced with, like, and then I remember that happened.
So we touched on social media a little bit, but I want to go back to that because that's where I saw your post that inspired this conversation right here, where you were very candid, very transparent about the things that you have been set free from, that you struggled with in the past, and now you're set free from. So
I'm
let's
not
talk
I'm not
about
I'm not I'm not completely set free, but I'm like 90% there.
it.
Because
Okay.
I still have them temptations, but I just know not to feed it.
So what are these things, and which ones do you still kind of struggle with? Which ones do you feel 100% free from, if any of them? And just talk about a little bit about that.
Um, Number one, first and foremost, I'm like the biggest alcoholic in the world. There's that. Ecstasy pills. I used to smoke a lot of weed. Um, Even like when it comes to sex, like my mind state is different when it comes to that kind of stuff now. Um, I never did no, like, I wouldn't say hard drugs, but I never did no coke. I never, I never did no Xans or Percocets, or like definitely never did no heroin, because I had an
Why?
uncle, like,
Why?
I had an uncle pretty much that he was like my sister's brother. Like, he was like the black sheep of the family. So like, when I used to see him do stupid stuff when he was high, I was just like, yeah, I would never in my life. Like, I'm talking about, like, I would leave the club and get home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be in the backyard raking leaves.
Mm.
Like, so I see
At 4 o'clock in the morning.
at four at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Why are you raking the leaves at 4 o'clock in the morning? He's like, well, it was during the summertime, and he made a point though. He's like, I might as well just do it now, because when the sun come up, it's gonna be too hot. I'm like,
Ooh.
I mean, in a way, it makes sense, but it's just like, bro, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. But
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's why I never did nothing like that. But like now, like I do get urges to drink. I'm not gonna lie, and it's only been about 40 days since I had my last drink. It's been like 3 months since I popped ecstasy, and about 40 days since I've had sex. So it's like,
So,
but go ahead.
mhm. So what is the reason? What is the motivation behind doing drugs, drinking alcohol? Like, what does that do for you?
I mean, it's like a temporary disconnection from. There's a lot of layers of things that I was dealing with that I didn't realize I was dealing with them until I took a step back and actually put all that stuff down and separated myself, and then got in the word.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the more and more I started reading the word, especially the fruits of the spirit, like I realized, like, I'm not loving people, period. Like, I'm the guy, like, there's still to this day, it's not funny, but still to this day, there are people that I went to high school with that tell me that I've hurt their feelings, and they would never forget what. Because I used to, like, I was a class clown. Like, I used to, like, make fun of people to the point, because, like, I didn't like to fight when I was in high school, but I would crack jokes on you until you pretty much called the principal on me.
Christian, if we knew each other in high school, it would have been a problem because that's the energy I was on too in high school. I was like, my jokes were on point. So, so
Yeah.
anybody
So,
tell
but
you,
I felt, but later on in life, like, what, 20 years? No, not 20, but like, what, 15, 16 years later, when you bump into people at Walmart and they're like, and I'm like, oh, you looking good. Be like, oh, well, you used to sit there and say that I had big teeth and all this other crazy stuff. And I'm in my head, I'm like, I did. Like I forgot all
Right.
about it.
Right.
Like I didn't like I was just joking. But I forgot what I was about to say. Oh, hold on. What was your question? My bad.
No, I was asking you, what does the drugs and the alcohol, how did that benefit you? You said there was stuff
Oh,
that you didn't even
oh
realize.
yeah, there's things that I didn't realize. Now I know what I was talking about. There's things that I didn't realize that I was dealing with. As far as like, the more you read the word, the more you want to walk like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can't walk like Jesus and be talking about people. I
Right.
can't walk with Jesus and be drinking every day. I can't walk with Jesus and be popping pills. I can't walk with Jesus and be having sex. I'm gonna walk like Jesus and be having sex. So it's like once you realize that, and then you once you understand that you have a higher calling in your life other than just that normal worldly stuff,
Yeah.
then for me personally, right now, I like to do the complete opposite of what people are doing. Like if I see a lot of people doing this, I'm like over there doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So the people in my age bracket, I'm about to be 35 in June. Now
Mm-hmm.
everybody, like all my friends, they all talk about having sex, or they just met up with this girl that last weekend, or they're talking about the best weed that they smoked, the new pills that they didn't pop, and stuff like that. So me now that I see all that's the way that they're living, it makes me want to do the complete opposite. Like and be different because there's so many guys that are like that in the world, but there's not a lot of guys that are doing what I'm trying to do. And the
Mm-hmm.
only reason why I say I'm trying to do it is because I'm not necessarily absolutely there just yet. Like I just started like there might be 10 steps. I just got to step 2 maybe. But eventually I know that like they're like I know for a fact there's like a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old boy that he went to a party and his homeboys was all smoking and he probably wanted to smoke, but he never necessarily did smoke, or he did do smoke, but he felt bad afterwards. And that kid, he probably won't be able to speak to his mom about it. He probably can't talk to his dad about it, but his friends is all saying he should smoke more. I'm trying to be that guy like that kid can actually speak to, because I never had it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've had people that I probably could talk to, but I just didn't feel comfortable speaking to them about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's what made me make that post about like all the stuff that I was battling, because I know for a fact that there's a lot of other people that are battling the same thing. And then like even my friends, like some of them tell me that they're not trying to have sex like that no more. They're trying to fall back from drinking as much and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm not trying to like brag or anything about to them about how I'm trying to live, how I'm living my life now. It's more so of me giving them some type of inspiration that they
Mm-hmm.
can do it too. Because I definitely, if I can do it, they definitely can do it. Because
Right.
ain't nobody had it. I won't say ain't nobody had it worse than me, but I was very hard headed, and I really I came a very long way from where I used to be.
Uh-huh. So you're a parent, you're a dad, your daughter is a teenager. Does she listen to your advice? How does that go? Like, is she going through some of the things you dealt with, or how does parenting a teenager work, especially when you've gone through a lot of the things that teenagers are faced with?
I mean, honestly, it gets tricky because I'm a very jealous dad. So it's like it's easier for me to speak to somebody's kid that I don't know about it. But then when your daughter comes up to you and speaks to you about it, it's like you really get really overprotective about it, and you
Yeah.
just like flat out just like no, instead of like giving her like a broad answer. So this is what I do. Like I would tell her exactly how I'm feeling about the situation or what she should or should not do, and then like we'll talk about the whole situation or whatever. I don't drag it out and tell her that she's wrong or whatever. But then after I speak to her, I always talk to my sister Tiffany about what just happened, and then Tiffany eventually, not right away, but eventually will talk to her also about the whole situation, and so that way she can navigate it in a way that, as far as a female
Mm-hmm.
perspective and somebody who's not actually her parent, who can speak to her in a different way that she would understand it.
Right. So I want to talk about the drug lifestyle and everything like that real quick again, because something that always fascinated me was if a person did drugs and drank alcohol, like their brain function. It all, like with Wendy Williams, for instance, she did coke and all these hard drugs and alcohol and stuff, but she's able to formulate her ideas and elocute her sentences and things like that. That always fascinates me because I thought that it would like have some kind of irreparable damage on the brain. So, as a person who has dabbled in drugs and stuff, do you feel like that? Like, what does your brain physically feel like?
I mean, it depends. Like when, all right, it's because between alcohol, weed, and ecstasy pills. I'll start with alcohol. Alcohol is basically like pretty much like I'm just. I guess you could say the life of the party, but then there's that fine line where you drunk too much. Like every last one of my friends has with me has a story where they had the most fun in the world, and a story where they most had the most fun, and a story where they just wanted to fight me.
Mm-hmm.
Both with me drinking, like it's a fine line. With weed, man, listen, whenever I smoked weed, all I want to do is listen to music, like listen to beats, like go to a club or something. Like when I'm on an e-pill, all I want to do is have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Or when, like I would like literally when you're on an e-pill, you feel like every single thing like actually comes together. It's like them people that do them that come up with them Disney movies. Like they all like I wouldn't say all of them, but back in the day they was all on PC acid and heroin and stuff like that, and they came over Alice in Wonderland. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like when you think like to somebody who isn't on the drug, they're like you said, they like but your brain be all distorted. But to us, it feels like I wouldn't say art, but it really depends on what you're making and what you're doing. Like there's been times I would go into the studio and I was high or I was on an e-pill and I did a bomb verse, and there was times where I went there when I was drunk and just slurred all my words. So it's like it's just a
So I guess it depends on the drug how it affects the different part of the brain.
yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. Well, with me, because like honestly speaking, there's people. All right, with cocaine and heroin. With cocaine, usually that's like the party drug, and there's people who just stay up for like hours at night. But there's some people that I know that sniff cocaine and that makes them fall asleep. Same thing with heroin. Heroin, like when people shoot heroin or they sniff heroin, I know people who just nod off and then start drooling at the mouth, stuff like that. But then there's also people who get the complete opposite. They get the most energy and freaking be up for hours at a time. So it's just like it really depends on the person and the way that their body is built.
Mm-hmm. So what's the compare and contrast how you feel physically off of drugs and alcohol versus when you were using?
All right, when I was using, I would wake up in the morning and like literally sit in my bed for like a solid half an hour to an hour before I had the energy to do anything. All I want to do is look at my phone, figure out what I was doing for the day. Even when I like sometimes when I was in my truck, I would wake up and like I usually now I'll get to that. I wake up and all I want to do is like just scroll until I either use the bathroom and get all them toxins out of my body or like or even I have a very very like I'm in a rush or something. Even sometimes when I was in a rush, I didn't really get up like that. But now that like I'm completely sober, like I have the most energy in the world. Like I get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm driving until like 5 or 6 o'clock at night every day. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like before, like I couldn't do that, and now that I'm not, especially drinking, like I used to turn around and be like, at nighttime when it starts to get dark and I'm about to park my truck, I used to like look for a liquor store to stop at before I would park my truck and then be drinking all night. Now I don't even like. That's the last thing that's on my mind. I drive straight past every single liquor store, and I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. And, t-
Hey.
and I don't. It actually helps me with my driving because I'm not driving into town doing weird turns and stuff like that. Look, just because I want to stop at a liquor store, or I would park in in like a bar area, like well, most WalMarts in America have like either like an Applebee's, a Fridays, Buffalo Wild Wings in that parking lot. Kind of like how it's kind of like the mall when it comes to Friday. You see the this Friday. So what I usually would do with at nighttime is park my truck in like one of those plazas, and then go to like Applebee's and just drink and get some food, get my dinner and drink at night, and then go in my truck and pass out for the night, and wake up and start driving. But it's like
So you
now
just
I
woke up
just feel like
sober?
like no, I don't always wake up sober. But now I'm more so energized. I'm looking for something to do other than drinking. Like I'm planning trips in my future a lot better than I was when I was drinking. I have a lot more money than I did when I was like my bar man. Listen, my bar tabs used to be like $130, $150 just for me, like 3 rolls of sushi and the rest is drinks. And they like doing that like 2 or 3 times a day sometimes during the summertime when I was home. And listen, it adds up. But then but now I like this the first, to be honest with you, this is probably the first time in a while that I have not lived paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, nice.
Because like I don't before, like, and that's another thing. I used to have a bad gambling problem. Like I used to gamble on sports, play online casinos, and like especially when I get drunk, like I get drunk and I just want to gamble. And between the bar tabs and me spending $300-400 on slots or online poker a day is just it's a lot. When you like now, I look at that money that I was spending on that kind of stuff, and like when I pass like homeless people, I give the instead of giving them $10, I give them like $50
Nice.
now, because in my head I'm like I know how it feels to be. I was homeless before. I know how it feels. So in my head I'm like, well, since I'm not drinking alcohol,
You were homeless on the street or just going from like a person's house to a person's house?
I mean, I slept in the streets before, like what, twice,
Yeah.
like underneath a bridge, yeah, right underneath the where I don't know if you ever been there, but there bus station. There's like a little underpath. Like if you go into the bus station, like to the left is the bus station. There's like a little underpath on the right hand side. I slept underneath there one time.
Why? Why?
Because I mean my mom wasn't. I came back from Atlantic City at like I took the last bus back. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I called my mom. She told me not to come into the house. I called like 4 of my friends. None of them went to answer the phone. So I was drunk and I just passed out underneath the freaking what you call. Woke up and I went and got a hotel room.
There was other people there too, under there?
No,
Oh,
it's just
okay.
me.
So
But
the word tells us that, sin, there's results of sin, and eventually it will lead to death. So as a person that, used to heavily dabble in sin, did you see a lot of that, like feeling like you were having near death experiences, or like just your situations were bad, like the devil was really on you? In what ways?
suicidal, definitely. Because when you're coming up like all right, with ecstasy pills, you feel like when you're on an E pill, you feel your feelings is maxed out times a million. So if you like in love with somebody, you like really affectionate towards that person. If you don't like somebody, you really don't like that person. But the flip side of things is when you come in like the next day, when you're coming down off of them things, you're like really sad. Like the most simplest thing in the world can like make you really sad. So it's like when when you're drinking the night before and you're coming down off of that, you're drinking the night before, you're coming off of alcohol, and it's just like all those emotions hit you at one time in the morning or in the early afternoon, whenever you actually wake up. And yeah, I tried to commit suicide like 3 times in my whole entire life. I cut both my wrists and I tried to jump off a bridge one time.
Wow. So did you actually jump off the bridge?
Nah, actually, it was weird because it was actually last year. The police actually came and I
Last
guess
year
there
in
was
2020?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
The police actually came. I guess there was an off-duty cop that I was on the overpass. No. This was in Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
I was on the bridge and I had my feet dangling from the bridge and I was just like, and there was an off-duty cop I guess that was driving by and he had called the police, and so literally the police came with the sirens on. I turned my head, and they're like, and one guy came up to me and started talking to me, and they brought me to the hospital.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah, see,
yeah,
because God has a
that
purpose for you.
that's one of the what do you call it? The things of sin that
Yeah.
actually happened. There's that. I'm trying to think. I mean, I didn't got into plenty arguments with like my spouses at whatever times I was dating them, or like
You said your
even my own
spouse?
family, all of them. Like yeah, any girl I was dealing with when I was drinking, or popping pills, I start arguments just because I was bored. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was, or like I argue with my mom, my sisters, like a bunch of like petty stuff. I mean, they forgave me and stuff like that now, and they
Yeah.
understood like you was just drunk or whatever. But then it got to a point where what really made me want to change my character was it got to a point where when I would drink, everybody would be like, "Oh, he's just drunk. That's him. That's what he does when he's drunk." And I never like sitting back and like it made me realize like I don't want to be known as that person that gets drunk and acts like this all the time. So now I just flipped the script. So it's like now I want to be known as the guy that used to be drunk all the time, high all the time, and fornicating, but he something a light bulb went off in his head and he actually finally got his act together.
Yeah, amen. Praise God. Do you feel like you need an accountability coach, or are you just motivated in yourself to just stay in the word? Like, how do you each day remain inspired to continue to pursue God and the things that God has for you, what his word says to do? How do you remain, anchored in the Lord?
Um, I mean, every morning my alarm clock is order my steps in your word. That's what I wake up to every morning, and I'm on the Bible app reading the word first thing in the morning.
You said order your steps in the Lord. Like that, whose voice is that saying that?
No, order my steps in your word. The
Yeah, what is
song,
it? Oh, okay, it's a song. Okay.
like order my steps in your word,
You said you
dear
can't
Lord.
sing. I hear a little vocals. No, I'm just playing.
Nah, nah. But
Okay.
there's that, and then like I try to like listen to a sermon. Like I got long drives every day, so I try to like listen to a sermon a day or like a podcast.
Who's your favorite person to listen to? Preacher.
Michael Todd.
Mike Todd. Okay.
Um, so there's that, and then I mean, Pastor calls me about 2 or 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just recently, 2 weeks ago, joined a small men's group. It's like 6 of us, and we just basically talk about what's going on in our lives and read the
Mm.
word twice a week.
Good. So you're
Um,
keeping yourself surrounded in God's word.
to be honest with you, I'm trying to. It kind of puts me in a rock between a hard place because there's people that I'm trying to break away from that I've known my whole life, or not. I want to say my whole life, but I've known them for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
and just because they're not on the same page of where I'm trying to take my life to
Right.
in my future. And I
Yeah.
just know that they're not going to change anytime soon. They don't want to change. They're just stuck in their ways and they
Mm-hmm.
don't know any better. And I'm not the type of person that's just going to, I don't want to be like the Jehovah Witness that breathes down somebody's neck about God's word and stuff like that. Eventually they're going to figure it out for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, that's why I'm trying to walk the right way so that way I can inspire people instead of
Yeah.
like talking down to them or
Mm-hmm.
not talking down to them, but trying to get them to get on the same page as I am type of thing.
Yeah. That's something I, desire to do. But because of the way I was raised, because of my experiences, few to none, people don't tend to relate. So you're like a person that people can relate to on a broader spectrum because of all your experiences. So
Yeah,
that's good.